All right. So, Dr. Cole, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm so excited to have this conversation with you and, really acknowledge you for what you're doing for the children in this country. And so, how about we'll start off by having you introduce yourself and how you got to where you are today. And I'm
Okay,
sure that will also answer the question of what inspired you to do what you're doing now.
great. So, Nicholas, I'd like to thank you for having me on your show. I think this is a great opportunity to get the word out about anti-bullying and how to handle bullies in the school system as well as in the workplace. Uh, to start out, I am retired military, so I spent 30 plus years in the military, retired colonel, and after or during the time I was in the military, I did a lot of teaching, teaching with students on the campuses as well as on the bases. And I realized that a lot of kids, young people, were joining the military and they were having some difficulties, which stemmed from some of the earlier training they'd gone through or the lack of training they'd gone through. So I worked with them when I was in the military. After retiring from the military, I started teaching in the college system and then later on the public school system. And last year in particular, when I moved back to Connecticut after my father passed away, I made it a point to really drill down into the schools and figure out really what's going on there. So I had an opportunity to substitute teach on elementary level, junior high, and high school. And at that point, I started to really see patterns of behavior, and things that needed to be corrected early on in the system. What I really saw more than anything else was that bullies started their activities in elementary school, and it created disruption in the classroom, not only for the teacher, but also for the other students. The reason that I saw people getting into that bullying mode was because they were falling behind in class. And some of the mindset was, if I can't be creative and do things in class, if I am not keeping up with the class, then no one else is going to learn. And so as a substitute teacher, I took those bullies aside and I asked them to participate in the class, to be my assistant teachers. And they really embraced that. They really loved that because now they're a part of the class and they're seen as leaders, not as someone who's behind. So this is just one approach in teaching to get the bullies on board, but more especially to bring them up to speed. But then I looked at the other side of it. And the other side of it is, what about the students who really want to learn and do not want to disrupt class? What do they do when the bullies tell them that they're going to do something else other than learn? And so I wanted people to grow up in the system, in a public school system or private school system, whichever the parents chose for their individual children. I wanted them to have a way of handling bullies. And when I say handling bullies, I don't mean physically doing anything to the bully, but connecting with the bully, helping to develop the bully, helping the bully to understand that they're a part of the class as well, and that it's important for bullies to change their way of thinking and to think more about what they're really there for, and that is to be educated. So during COVID, I had the opportunity to sit back in my home and to do some research and some writing. And so I wrote two books, books that one book that deals with bullying in the classroom, and another book that deals with cyberbullying. And this is really a great opportunity for students as well as parents to work with the younger people as well as the older people and help them navigate through school. Because not only do we have to deal with COVID, but we also have to deal with bullies on a day-to-day basis. So that is my way of contributing back to the school system. And in addition to writing these two books, I also wrote lesson plans for each book so that the teachers will have an opportunity to use these books. And they have used these books in the North Carolina school system, in the Guilford County especially. They have embraced this concept, and they have been using these books as an introduction to the students during the anti-bullying periods. And that's usually in March and October. Introduce the students to the anti-bullying thoughts and identify what a bully is, and also talk to ways of working with bullies and to bring them on board and bring them into the fold so that the students can move together in helping the teacher, as well as helping the teacher to understand that they are there to learn. And I think that that's a wonderful concept for America. And I think that that is exactly what we need in the classroom, because it is tough to be being a teacher. But why are the teachers there? We are there for the students. We are there for the students to embrace, to learn as much as we can about them and their background, and to help them develop in the school system through our teaching. So we learn a lot from our students, and we teach a lot to our students. And this is a life experience. This is building self-esteem for the student. I think students should feel good about who they are and where they're going in life. And once they embrace this concept, which they can find on kingsdragonllc.com, or if they would like to order the books, they can look under my name on Amazon, Dr. Donald Cole, and the two books will pop up, and I believe that they will really enjoy the books. The books have really helped the students in Guilford County, and as well as other places I've been, Vegas and California, southern parts of California. So I'm really excited about this opportunity. So thank you again.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. And so that got us to, or got you to where you've developed a character, right, in these books. And there's something special about this character, and his name is A-OK, which I
Yes.
love. And it's A-OK to be okay. And something that we talked about when we first chatted, and I noticed that, A-OK is a character of color. Now, that wasn't the part that stuck out. The part that stuck out for me is he has red hair. And I asked
Yeah.
you, I said, well, I got the ethnic part. And then I thought about, well, do I know anyone of color with red hair? But you gave a beautiful explanation on the intent behind that. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Absolutely. So, as you said, red hair stands out. And a lot of times people kind of direct their energy either in a positive way or a negative way towards people with red hair. But really the concept is what makes you different, okay? We seem to, in this country, embrace differences. In some cases, we go after people who are different. In other cases, we bring those who are different into the fold. And I believe that the red hair and the light brown skin, and quite honestly, A-OK is the character. A-OK could be someone who is very fair, very brown, uh, all different shades, because there's always a difference. If all the classes were filled with the same types of students, somehow someone would find something that's different, okay? And A-OK is a good student. And he's smart enough in the two books to figure out a way to navigate around the bullies and work with the bullies to bring them around. And I think that that's a very important point. Although you may be identified as being different, you should always feel good about who you are. You should recognize your strengths as well as your weaknesses, but more especially embrace who you are and work on your self-esteem and think A-OK to be okay. If you identify with that concept throughout life, not just in elementary school, you will be a stronger person going forward.
Yeah, I agree. It is okay to be okay. And sometimes I see in society where we almost embrace that we have to go through life with this struggle, and that has to be the narrative, and almost that it's shunned upon to be okay. And yes, there's things that we go through in life, and a lot of us as children, if not most of us, have scenarios that disrupt us into our adolescence, into our adulthood. However, there's many tools and resources in this day and age that allow us to clear those situations from our childhood to have an okay adulthood. And what I love about this story, and I would really recommend it to everyone, such a great story. And not to give it away, I will say what I love about it is that when the bully and AOK have their situation, AOK doesn't have the typical reaction that most people would have from the bully. As you said, he embraced the bully. And is that what you found, not just as a teacher, which subbing for a class has got to be one of the hardest things. So for you to have that type of impact in a class coming in as a sub where, I'll speak from one of those kids, in our school, we just did not respect substitute teachers,
Right.
for you to come in and to embrace that, were you also able to see the impact of other kids embracing the bullies and not just the teachers?
Yes, yes. In fact, not only did they embrace the bullies, but they also helped the bullies to understand their importance in class. And that's what I try to do. Help the bullies understand their importance in class, that they're not behind. We're gonna catch up with the rest of the class and make you strong going forward. So yes, the other students really embraced the concept of thinking A-OK to be okay, and they also embraced the bullies and tried to figure out ways to help the bullies to be better.
And what's your goal or your vision? How do you see this if you were to look down the road at what would you like to see this accomplish?
Right. So I believe that in every school system, there's an opportunity to identify those who are weak in class, those who do not feel positive about themselves. I like this concept to really get into the classrooms. I want not only the students, but also the teachers to embrace the concept because it really is tough each day. And thank you for recognizing that substitute teachers get kind of sometimes the short end of the stick. Uh, One of the reasons that I wrote lesson plans for both of these books is because when you, as a substitute teacher, when you walk into that classroom, you like to have something to go by, okay? And having these two books out and really trying to navigate through how do you present this to the classroom without having some type of guide. Uh, the beauty of this is that you actually talk through with the students about what they see, how they identify it. Do they identify with the bully? Do they identify with ways of embracing the bully? How can we be a better society? And this is really what I want. I want children to feel good about who they are. I want adults to feel good about who they are. I want us to feel strong about being good and positive in America, okay? And I also want us to recognize that we have value. So many times people have been taught that if you don't go a certain direction, that you are worthless or you don't have as much value. But I submit that every person has value in this world. Every person. Every person has a special gift, and all they have to do is recognize what that gift is and go forward with that gift, building each and every day upon that gift. That will benefit our society. It will make us collectively better. And when we are healthy as a society, we are healthy as a country, we're healthy as a world. This is think A-OK to be okay.
Yeah, and another thing I'd like you to touch on, kind of segueing into what we see in adults. I have a friend of mine that works in corrections, and he tells me the talent that he sees from these individuals that have unfortunately made choices to have them end up in unfavorable situations. Like you said, though, they have talent, they have skills. In the world, people tend to fall through the cracks and they're not nurtured. And you mentioned you were in the military. Now, what did you observe from adults? Where the truth is the bullying doesn't stop as kids. And what is it that you witness in the military from adults in that same circumstance?
Right. So part of the training that you experience when you join the military is to, in some cases, we talk about the Marine Corps, we talk about the Army, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the Navy, is to kind of break you down and build you back up. Right. So one of the things that you have to learn is how to participate as a team member. Okay. And being part of a team means that it's not about me. It's not about, it's not the I part of it. As a team, you move together as a team, you fight together as a team, you work each day as a team, you help protect this country as a team. And I believe that through this concept of think A-OK to be okay, if you understand and embrace being a team member, then you will take the weakest part of your team and you will make that team member strong. So there are bullies who come into the military and they somehow try to present themselves in this very strong way and try to in some ways dominate others, but they cannot be successful in the military without understanding the concept of being a team member. And the team cannot do well if that bully doesn't understand his relationship to the team. So the military is a great platform. It's a great environment for people to develop and grow and to understand the concept of team, but more especially the team members to understand that they have to bring everyone along with them and make each person as strong as they possibly can be.
Yeah, so let's tie that back into the school system. So what I hear from what you're saying is that in the military, there's this establishment of a well, in terms of win-win. You're going off to battle. It's you're either all going to win together, or unfavorable circumstances can happen. And if your unit isn't solid, if you can't trust every single person that's with you, there's dire consequences. Now,
Yes.
in the school, it's not that as extreme. However, do you see any way to incorporate having that win-win mentality, having that we're only as strong as our weakest link, incorporated into the schools with the children, into the classroom? Is there any way to add some of that without the severity of what obviously you're facing in the military?
Right. So in the school system, uh, there are classrooms, there are classes who compete against each other, right? There are schools that compete against each other. Kids are taking tests on a regular basis. They have to score well on those tests. It reflects on the class, it reflects on the teacher. So it's important that you develop each and every individual in that classroom and build that team so that the scores will be strong, so that they will compete well against other students, so they will compete well with other school systems, because people are ranked. Teachers are ranked, students are ranked, classrooms are ranked. Those things are very important. Now, does that mean that you should focus in on being number one? Not necessarily, although that's a great feeling too. But imagine if you took the bully who had C's and D's, D's and F's in a classroom, and that bully's grades change from C's and D's to A's and B's. Does that make for the class a better outcome? Absolutely. Does it make it a better outcome for the teacher? Absolutely. It is developing the student. That's what we're there for, to develop the student, develop the class, develop the team. Even as a teacher, you have to be part of a team. And if you do it well, if you embrace it, if you look to other teachers, you look to other principals, vice principals, and find ways to learn, develop, and become stronger, it makes overall a better school system.
Yeah. And as you're saying that, and I'm thinking about the character, and I'm going back to when you talked about A-OK being really a symbol of the differences. Would you say that in some way, if we really look at ourselves one-on-one, in a way, we're all A-OK? We're all that, character with the red hair in some way. We are
Yes,
all that character.
we are. We are. A-OK represents us all. Okay? It's not just about the hair color. It's not just about the skin color. It's not about the way that person's built, slim, or a little more weight. Okay? That doesn't matter. What really matters is that, do you feel good about who you are? Okay? And do people around you respect who you are? If we understand that concept, there are so many things that we can actually do in this country that far exceeds what we're doing now. I mean, it's very important for us to understand that we are A-OK.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I discovered really studying this, we'll call it the human condition, is that when people put others down, it's so that they can attempt to lift themselves up. And we have this reaction
Yeah.
to, we'll say, bullies in the world, bullies in the school. And when we are able to look past that, we can see that what causes that type of behavior is the lack of that, is because they don't feel good about themselves. I don't know a single person who feels good about themselves who I ever see put someone else down. And
Right.
that is what I see is an expression of what we term as bullies. Really, it's them subconsciously shouting out to the world that I don't feel good inside. Would you agree with that?
I would totally agree with that. In psychology, that's called a projection. Okay, so in many ways, when we project onto others what we're really feeling about ourselves, there are things that we have inside. Maybe our home environment is not as healthy as it should be. Maybe even some things that go on in school are not as healthy as it should be. And we internalize that, and then in some way redirect that energy upon other people. And when we do that, it detracts, it takes away from what could actually be a really positive environment. So if we can get to the source of the problem, and if we see it as a problem, and I believe in many ways bullying is seen as a problem, okay? If we can get to the source of the problem and really work with that individual to bring that person along, we can make this an incredible place to live, an incredible place to be, and fulfill our destiny, because every one of us has a destiny.
Yeah, I love it. So we have, A-OK to be okay. We have the two books behind you, and you are working on a third, correct? Or
Yeah,
is it okay? Working
correct.
on a third, and A-OK is a symbol of the differences that we all have inside of us. And the irony to that is all of us having that difference also makes us all in some way the same within our differences.
That's
Uh,
right.
so, and I love that you went a step further. You could have stopped with, the figures. You could have stopped with the books and said, here's this information. I love how you added a guide for it because it shows that you really care about the effectiveness of this story translating and being utilized. You're providing, you've created a new tool that you're now building and distributing within society. And if used, has fantastic results like you've already seen. And so the next step is just growing that, right? Getting it out to more and more schools, more and more children. And I, for one, think it would be fantastic to have your story in every school across America.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. So let everyone know again where they can go to purchase the books, where they can find your information, and I'll also include it at the end of the video.
Okay. So you can go to the website, which is King's Dragon. That's KINGS KingsDragonLLC.com, and you can get T-shirts. You can get the two dolls that are behind me, AOK dolls. You can get wristbands to wear each and every day to remind yourself to be AOK. Think AOK to be okay. T-shirts, books, and lesson plans. Or you can go to Amazon and look under Dr. Donald Cole, and the two books will pop up for you. And the two books are AOK's New Cell Phone and To Be Okay at School. So please go out and look at these books. I think that they're going to be of value to not only the kids in elementary school, but to adults as well. Think AOK to be okay. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Cole. I love it. And this has been a fantastic conversation. I wish you all the best. And I hope that, a year or two or whatever it takes down the road, we look back and we see A-OK to be okay in schools across the country.
Thank you.
All right. Well,